Welcome to today's Explainer. We're jumping right into the sweeping, incredibly vibrant life of a true global icon, Rabindranath Tagore. We're talking about a man whose brilliance literally sent shockwaves through the culture, literature, and education of the Indian subcontinent, and honestly, the entire world. To kick things off, I've got a seriously mind-blowing question for you to frame our whole analysis today. Who is the only person in recorded history whose work became the national anthem for two entirely separate countries? I mean, it's a completely unprecedented feat.
The answer? Rabindranath Tagore. His profound literary genius literally scored the independence of India with Jana Gana Mana and Bangladesh with Amar Sonar Bangla. And, his reach didn't even stop there. His work also deeply inspired Sri Lanka's national anthem. Talk about leaving a mark.
Now, because a single label couldn't possibly define a polymath of this magnitude, our explainer today is going to navigate through 6 defining themes: the Bard of Bengal, a literary revolution, education beyond the classroom, humanism over nationalism, the global citizen, and finally, an enduring legacy. Let's get right to it.
Section 1. The Bard of Bengal. Let's uncover how a boy who actually hated school earned this definitive title. Raised in a distinguished family during the Bengal Renaissance, which was this massive cultural and intellectual awakening in India, young Tagore was born in May 1861 in the wealthy Jorasanka mansion in Calcutta. But here's the fascinating part. Despite his privileged background, he absolutely despised rigid classrooms. Actually, he lasted exactly 1 day at Presidency College. 1 day. Instead, he much preferred roaming in nature. He conditioned himself physically by swimming the Ganges River and trekking through the hills. And it was within this environment of immense, unstructured freedom that he wrote his first substantial poetry at just 8 years old.
Section 2. A literary revolution. That untamed childhood curiosity ended up fueling one of the most astonishing creative outputs in modern history.
You have to stop and really think about the sheer scale of his genius here. He wasn't just a writer. He composed over 2,000 songs, literally creating a musical genre uniquely known as Rabindra Sangeet. Later in life, he reinvented himself to create over 2,000 paintings. Add to that hundreds of poems, novels, essays, and plays. This stunning volume of work culminated in massive global recognition when he became the first Asian to win the Nobel Prize in Literature back in 1913.
If we trace his middle years, we see this incredible crescendo of greatness. In 1901, he founds the Santiniketan ashram in school. By 1910, he publishes his universally acclaimed collection of poems Gitanjali, which directly wins him that Nobel Prize in 1913. But then, in 1919, he makes a massive pivot by renouncing his British knighthood, a deeply significant political and moral statement.
Section 3. Education beyond the classroom. To really understand that journey, we need to zoom in on his radical approach to shaping young minds. Tagore's educational philosophy was basically the exact antidote to his own upbringing. He entirely rejected the suffocating formal colonial education of his time. The kind that was rigid, classroom-bound, obsessed with rote memorization, and totally disconnected from local culture. Instead, he built Santiniketan, which later evolved into Visva-Bharati University. His school was open air. It was deeply immersed in nature, driven by the students' own curiosity, and heavily emphasized holistic creativity and freedom. He fundamentally believed nature was one of humanity's absolute greatest teachers.
Section 4. Humanism over nationalism. Because, of course, his philosophies weren't just confined to the schoolyard.
Maintaining a stance of profound humanism, historical records show Tagore made a staggeringly brave political statement to the British Raj. Following the devastating Jallianwala Bagh massacre in 1919, he officially stripped himself of the knighthood he'd received from King George V just 4 years earlier. He made it clear he wished to stand shoulder to shoulder with his oppressed countrymen, without any colonial titles attached to his name.
Taking a quick breath from that heavy historical moment, there's a powerful quote from his famed work Gitanjali that perfectly anchors his lifelong fight, where the mind is without fear and the head is held high. It's such a beautiful line, right? It just perfectly captures his relentless push for intellectual independence, freedom of expression, and raw human dignity.
Section 5. The Global Citizen. His intense quest for universal brotherhood inevitably pushed him far, far beyond the borders of India.
30. That is the staggering number of countries across 5 continents that Tagore visited between 1878 and 1932. He was an internationalist in the truest sense of the word, constantly seeking out ways to bridge cultural divides. Just to give you a sense of this, there's a diary entry from a 1932 visit to a Bedouin encampment in the Iraqi desert. When the tribal chief spoke to him of peace and brotherhood, it actually startled Tagore into recognizing what he called the voice of essential humanity. And that was his superpower. Whether he was sitting down to debate high-level physics with Albert Einstein or drinking tea in a Bedouin camp, he possessed this profound ability to connect with people on a purely human level.
Section 6. An enduring legacy. Even as we enter his twilight years, his personal evolution absolutely refused to slow down.
Right up to his passing at age 80, he was vigorously active across multiple fronts. He didn't just write, he actively campaigned to open temples to marginalized Dalits. He expanded his mind to integrate modern science, physics, and astronomy into his later essays. And astonishingly, in his 70s, when most people are winding down, he completely reinvented himself as an abstract painter, pouring his soul into thousands of new artworks. And beautifully, he dictated his final, profoundly moving poem just days before his death in August 1941.
I want to share these beautiful words from his work Stray Birds because they really encapsulate the peaceful, lyrical optimism of a man who gave absolutely everything he had to the world. He wrote, "Clouds come floating into my life, no longer to carry rain or usher storm, but to add color to my sunset sky." He took the clouds of his life, the personal grief, the intense political turmoil, the vast complexities of a changing world, and he used them to add incredible, lasting color to our shared human history.
So, as we wrap up today's explainer, I want to leave you with a final, provocative thought to chew on. How can we apply Tagore's vision of universal brotherhood in today's highly divided world? In your own life, how will you champion his timeless belief in our shared, essential humanity? Thank you so much for exploring the magnificent journey of Rabindranath Tagore with me today. Keep learning and keep holding your head high.